I believe that every movie adheres to the 29-point story structure. No matter if the writer outlines first or dives in blind, the end product follows the same 29 beats. Star Wars: The Last Jedi is my 33rd piece of evidence. 8 down and 1 to go. I have finally watched the moderately controversial installment in the franchise. Okay, objectively, I understand why so many fans grumble about it, but I found way more to enjoy than to dislike, so I'm gonna hold on to that happiness. My first time viewing of Star Wars proper has been mostly positive, and this Trekkie never expected to form an attachment to Han freaking Solo. Yet here I am. Director Rian Johnson took up the mantle and ran with it, gifting us with character work that held the previous movies close to heart. The arcs felt familiar without copy-pasting them from earlier movies, and he pivoted the direction of the franchise to embrace something new. And he pulled it off by utilizing the 29-point story structure like a master storyteller. Let's begin. E-type focus on the core elements of the protagonist's personality, inner conflict, and situation. Poe leads an assault and destroys yet another First Order mega weapon. Finn rouses from his Episode 7 coma, while Rey participates in a Luke Skywalker Easter egg hunt. Where, why, and how the protagonist exists in their world, with a focus on why they don't quite fit in. Supreme Leader Snoke laughingly closes his grip around the Resistance, and pushes Kylo Ren further into unstable chaos, while Rey stalks Luke all the livelong day to plead for him to help his sister, then finds herself drawn to ancient Jedi textbooks that prove her connection to the Force, and the Resistance needs to find somewhere to regroup. A singular event that's never happened before, and is destined to lead the characters away from their status quo. The First Order follows the Resistance through light speed. An examination of what's different in light of the something new, what's the same in spite of it in relation to the status quo. The First Order launches an offensive against the hobbled Resistance, and General Leia magics herself back to safety. The discovery that things are less than ideal, or an exploration of how badly things are. Luke struggles to explain his reluctance to allow Jedi training to continue. R2-D2 guilts the shit out of his former owner, and Poe strongly dislikes that his demotion removes him from the inner circle of command. Characters dedicate their effort to a specified goal, which is smaller in scope than the primary objective of the third act. Finn tries to run to take Rey's homing beacon far away from the First Order. Poe chooses mutiny in hopes of saving the last of the Resistance, and Maz Kanata hands them the most ill-timed side quest in the history of Star Wars side quests. A brief checklist of the story elements needed for the second act. The literal, metaphorical, and mysterious connection between Rey and Kylo Ren, the grandeur and solitude of Jedi tradition, the Force and its existence beyond Jedi and Sith belief systems, and the ever-present pull to the darkness and what that means to each person. The singular event that launches the characters into the wild jungle of the second act, also called an oh shit moment. Rey feels the pull to the darkness stronger than ever, and realizes the mighty Luke Skywalker has closed himself off from the Force. Oh shit. Characters must learn all new rules and expectations distinct to this adventure. Poe's mutiny launches its first phase amid the Resistance low-speed chase. Rey and Kylo Ren establish a familiarity with their connected moments, while Finn and Rose immerse themselves among the First Order's most favorable arms dealers. Characters showcase their ability to grow in the areas this adventure requires, typically through external means. Rey trades her staff for a lightsaber as her official weapon of choice, then learns of the fall of the Jedi Council, then the fall of Luke Skywalker and the creation of Kylo Ren. Characters face legitimate and understandable reasons to deviate from their stated convictions, agendas, or desires. The Resistance medical frigate loses fuel and is blown up by the First Order, while Finn and Rose shy away from a dodgy prisoner who's all talk. An escalation of problems that vex the characters. BB-8 busts DJ out of jail, while Rose connects with the slave children to keep them from alerting the authorities. They ride fathiers in a whirlwind chase sequence through the casino town, then they're bailed out by BB-8 and the dodgy prisoner. Characters evolve internally by utilizing everything they've gathered and learned. Luke reconnects with the Force, then Rey connects with Kylo Ren's inner chaos as the two are dragged closer by an unseen hand. Journey-weary characters reconcile the reality of their ongoing situation with who they were in the first act. Rey visits the fear and loss and anger she's carried since before her awakening, intertwining her further with the monster she loathed during the first act. A singular event that strikes at the protagonist's core conflict. In the Force, Rey finds a deep sense of belonging to Kylo Ren, and there's no turning back from here. Characters find needed answers for both external and internal conflicts. Rey forces another Rashomon version of Kylo Ren's creation out of Luke. Then she jets off to turn Kylo Ren like Luke turned Darth Vader. The clarified objective is realized in part or in whole, though it's meaningless without the completion of the primary objective. Yoda encourages Luke's mutiny of the Jedi Order, but doesn't let him run away from his duties as a Master Force user. An existential conflict that wounds the character's sense of self, worldly identity, or their journey. Finn and Rose negotiate with the money-centric codebreaker, while Poe faces certain extinction in the face of Admiral Hodo's direct orders. Then Rey delivers herself into the middle of the First Order as the codebreaker slips Finn and Rose inside the shields. An undeniable win for the protagonist, typically in direct connection to the rebirth. Poe kicks off the second phase of his mutiny, which I hesitate to call a win because he's in the wrong, but he undeniably completes what he set out to do. Finn, Rose, and BB-8 infiltrate enemy territory, and Rey sets the stage for the mental gymnastics she's about to attempt on Kylo Ren. A grand loss directly connected to the character's newfound inability to quit the journey. Finn, Rose, and BB-8 are caught by Captain Phasma. Leia bids farewell to yet another trusted friend and colleague, and Rey discovers that her connection to Kylo Ren had been Snoke's manipulative trap all along. A thematic freefall tied directly to the heavy price. Poe is filled in on the secret escape plan that he may have compromised, while General Hux confirms that he indeed knows too much about the Resistance furtive movements, and Rey is thrown around like a ragdoll, then made to watch helplessly as innocent lives are snuffed out one escape ship at a time. A singular event that robs the protagonist of seemingly any chance of success. Snoke invites Kylo Ren to execute Rey, and finally earn his place as Grandpappy Vader's successor. Characters cannot return to their starting personas, and must turn to face the primary objective. Kylo Ren chooses his connection to Rey over the abuse from Snoke, then invites her to rule the galaxy with him side by side. Admiral Holdo sacrifices herself to save the few remaining rebels, and Finn finally defeats the specter of his stormtrooper past. Characters move towards the climax while utilizing the major swings and sneaky misdirections of the story. Kylo Ren takes command in the most Vader way imaginable. The Resistance hunkers down in the shell of the rebellion before it, and retreated to yet another massive battle between the underdogs and the space Nazis, with the Millennium Falcon swooping in like old times. The final confrontation between the protagonist and the antagonistic force. Luke faces his greatest failure in Kylo Ren, while the Resistance finds a back way out of their sticky mess, and Rey and Chewie double back to help the fight. The singular event where the protagonist finally confronts their place in the status quo. Rey rescues the fledgling survivors of the Resistance and keeps the flickering hope alive. The direct aftermath of the climax. Luke reveals his ultimate deception and sacrifices himself for the greater good. The consequences of the climax in relation to other characters in the status quo. Kylo Ren absorbs the full breath of his master's deception and watches as Rey shuts herself off from him for good. A tight focus on the protagonist contrasted from the opening. Rey discovers she's become just as much a legend as Luke, then settles in with lifelong rebel Leia Organa to plot the next move of their resistance. And there you have it, my 33rd example to support my argument that all movies follow the exact same story structure, regardless of how the writer approaches their craft. The Last Jedi stretches out the first and third acts to create a grand sci-fi spectacle, yet every beat of the 29-point story structure is accounted for. But does this generation-spanning sequel follow the same plot beats as a Russian body horror that's winning international acclaim and recognition? Yes, it arguably does. Next on my docket, Sputnik. Please subscribe to stay up to date with this and future videos, and please like and comment with your thoughts and reactions. I'll talk at you next time.